OTAN, Outreach and Technical Assistance Network.
Welcome, everyone. Those of you who are joining online or in person at the college. We're really happy to be here sharing our presentation today. I am co-presenting with my wonderful colleague, Jia Sun, and I am Ruth Wilson, and we both teach through San Diego Community College District. We have been teaching there for quite a few years. And let me just start by introducing Jia first. So Jia is the HighFlex coordinator for our ESL program. So she is quite knowledgeable when it comes to ed tech. And I am the citizenship coordinator for our ESL program. So in addition to that, I have several years of experience teaching beginning ESL on Zoom. And both Jia and I have seen many other instructors in our ESL program struggle to utilize Zoom breakout rooms. So this is kind of how today's workshop evolved. It was through part of our program's need. We kept hearing teacher after teacher say, my students don't participate in breakout rooms. And, even G and I have both had that happen in our classes as well. So we came up with this idea for a workshop within our program. We did an in-person workshop and a virtual Zoom version of that workshop for our teachers, and they came back with such positive feedback with our strategies. So we felt compelled to present it at OTAN, and here we are today, happy to deliver some effective strategies that you can try in your class as soon as next week. That's our goal anyway, to make it fun and applicable. So that's a little bit about how this session got evolved. And throughout, we want to encourage questions and full participation. We're here to help you and serve you. So feel free to type anything in the chat along the way and we'll address your questions. So to start us off, we have a table of contents, and we're first going to cover challenges and solutions. And then we'll get a little further into week by week strategies, making it step by step for you so that you don't feel overwhelmed and you maybe don't know where to begin. And then we will get into more Zoom specific tips and breakout room settings. There are constant new updates to Zoom that some people are just not aware of. So it's always good to be up to date on those updates. And then we are going to share some sample activities that Gia and I came up with ourselves based on, like I was saying, seeing what didn't work. And then we were trying out things that we realized did work and was making our students more engaged in our Zoom lessons and breakout activities. So we're hoping that you can take our activities and begin using them and more in your own classes. And then we'll talk about we'll have an all-around discussion, and then we'll wrap up at the end with a little Q&A. So let me go on to the next slide. And here we are with challenges, right? These are our most common ones, and I'm sure you've seen it yourself if you're an online teacher. First, most common one is students don't unmute or start their videos. How many of you can relate to that? Maybe you can share in the chat or raise your hand if that's ever happened to you. It's really unsettling, and it makes you feel like you're doing something wrong, or like no one's interested in your class or whatever. Like it can make you feel really uneasy. Another challenge that we've come across is they don't do anything in the breakout room. And then you feel like it's a waste of time. And I've been there myself, I'm not here to preach. We've all experienced these things, and you feel like you don't want to try it again because they didn't have a good time in the breakout room. Has anyone else experienced that? Yeah, Jennifer says no student experience, but definitely teachers when doing PDs. Elle says they do stuff, just not what I asked them to do. I've also been there. And Philip says all the time. Yeah, so we are not alone. Luke says the majority of the students keep their cameras off, regardless of how much you stress the importance of leaving them on. Yes, Luke, I know. And so hopefully, like with our tips, you can start to feel like there is a way, there's a path forward. And then finally, our last challenge that we've seen a lot of is I can't get all the students into the breakout rooms. I know back in the day, that was a big struggle of mine before I knew about a certain Zoom setting. So once again, feel free to share in the chat your experiences. And also, can you think of any other challenges when it comes to breakout rooms specifically that you've had? Okay, Karen says other teachers claim the breakout rooms work great, but really wonder what goes on in there. Yeah, that's a good point, Karen. And then she also says teachers send work into the breakout rooms. How do I get stuff into there? Yeah, we'll cover that today. And then Elle says the screen share to breakout room stops when I join one of the rooms. Okay, good. I'm glad. Yeah, Elle, I'm glad you brought that up. We will certainly address that. Students on iPhones yes, Philip, iPhones and iPads. I know. Another thing that I will say something about that in a little while. Laura says once in a blue moon, there's friction between a couple of students. Okay, yeah. So it sounds like it's like a classroom management issue as well, right? Like we're comfortable maybe managing an in-person class, but how can we take those old management skills and then turn them into adjusting for an online class? It does take a lot of like thought and intention into it. So all of these things can be very frustrating. That's the main thing that we want to establish. Like we understand how you feel and we've been in your shoes. So that was really why we came up with this session, is that we want teachers to feel supported. So if you think of any other challenges along the way, feel free and put them in the chat. I think we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. Yeah. If there's anything else. Okay. So now that we've talked about those challenges, we have hope for you. We want to talk about how to overcome the challenges. And Jia and I came up with a little handy way to remember it. We call it the 3 Ps, or double quotes there. They are patience, persistence, and positivity. So let me start with patience, first of all. Just trust in the process. You know, that old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. Students adjust to Zoom breakout rooms gradually, just like with anything else. It's a gradual, over time, it can happen. So that leads us into persistence, believing like once you have your patience, then you can stay persistent. And just because you run into a hurdle during the first week or the second week of class, it doesn't mean that it's time to give up. Quite the contrary. When students see you serious about managing breakout rooms, they will respond accordingly. And they'll know that it's a safe, boundaried environment where the teacher has the, control or the capacity to manage the breakout rooms and the Zoom. I think it's when the teacher starts to feel insecure, and that's when students can start to engage less. So persistence with the process, give your students the benefit of the doubt, and try and keep up clear expectations and communication. And I think you'll see results if you just keep trying. And so the patience and the persistence, I think that's the first two. That's why they're at the top. And then the last one is positivity, which, sometimes we have to put on a fake happy face, but over time, the more you try these out, the more you'll see the results. And then I think it can be easier to keep and stay positive, even in the midst of challenges. And just know that you're not alone and that you can do this. We've been there. And so those are the 3 Ps. We hope you can remember them next time you're feeling really frustrated. Just hopefully that will pop into your mind. And then that way you can keep up with when you're teaching online and you're feeling like all is lost. I know I've felt that way before. And then we found this quote by Thomas Edison: "Our greatest weakness lies in giving up." Sorry, my captions are in the way and I can't read the whole thing. Maybe Jia, if you could take over the quote there.
Yeah. So our greatest weakness lies in giving up, and the most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. And do you want to, can you go back? Yeah, thank you. So hi everyone, my name is Jia Sun, and I also work for San Diego Continuing Ed. Part of my job is as the ESL Digital Literacy Coordinator, so I support online beginning level teachers and also the high flex teachers, and a lot of through like a one-on-one mentoring. And a lot of time when I see teachers come to me and say, it's not working, the breakout room is not working, the students are not doing anything. It's because at the first, the mindset, the goal the teacher is for the student is at the beginning of the semester is way too high. Our goal is to have successful breakout rooms, but it's more towards the end of semester or after a few weeks of practice. If a teacher try for the first day, try for the second day, and it was not successful, and then to give up, then you don't see the students really improve in your class. So really is to understand that this won't be very successful day 1. It won't be very successful day 2, maybe not even the first week or the second week, but the students will start to learn the routine. They will start to get that when they go to the breakout room, it's their opportunity to practice. So Ruth, can you go to the next page? So here we want to present a week by week strategy. And as you can see here, to make the breakout room work takes weeks. And it won't be successful for the first week. And this is what I've been doing for my class. And I'm currently teaching a fully online beginning literacy class. I've been teaching lower levels for over 10 years. And for the past 4 years, I've been teaching either fully online or a high flex. So for the day 1, sometimes teacher will try to create several breakout rooms, put the student in the breakout room and assume they know how to work in a small group with other students. But what I've been doing is just create one breakout room, and I will join that breakout room with all the students together. Now we are very fortunate for lower levels, fully online, we have an instructional assistant. So for the day one, I let my IA stay in the main room and I go into the breakout room. And if there's any student, even though I check the setting to automatically send all the participants to the breakout room, but if there's 1 or 2 students, they are still staying in the main room. That means they still have the very, very old version of Zoom. That's why they don't have this new feature. So they are not automatically pushed into the breakout room. So I could let my PA write down their names so that I email those students, hey, these are the instructions. You need to update your Zoom. And in the breakout room, that's a great opportunity for me to teach them the vocabulary. What is breakout room? And I let the students to understand breakout room is their opportunity to practice. Now, thinking about adult ESL learners, a lot of them come from other countries and a very different cultural background. And just from my own cultural background, for a classroom, it's for the teacher, it's always teacher-centered. The students aren't supposed to be working with each other. We are supposed to be listening, the teachers giving us the instruction, giving us the lecture. So to help the students really understand it, breakout room is an opportunity for the students to practice. If the students listen, that's great, but they need to practice so that they can improve their listening skills and speaking skills. So the day one is really important to let them understand the concept that there's always a breakout room each day in a Zoom session, and it's their opportunity to practice. Now, of course, the day one, I will be the facilitator of the breakout room. I will call on the student's name, try to encourage them to unmute and practice. Now, in week 1 and 2, I will create 2 breakout rooms. And I will be the facilitator of 1 breakout room. My instructional assistant will be the facilitator of another breakout room. So this really helps the students to understand the routine that each day there's a few opportunities. They go into this room, they see that message, teacher sending you to a breakout room, and they see that's the opportunity. Teacher start to call their name, students take turns to answer questions or read. So they kind of understand the concept. And then on week 3 and 4, and as we are all teachers, we start to get to know the student. We know all the students' name, right? And we know there's always a few students, they volunteer all the time, they answer questions. They're not afraid of speaking in front of the whole class. And we know their levels probably a little bit higher than other students. Then that's the time I add a 3rd breakout room. And before I send them to the breakout room, I really praise the students a lot, make sure them feel so good about themselves. They are the best students, they're doing a great job, they participate very well. That's why they got to send to this like good student breakout room. And they don't have a teacher as the facilitator. Now, before I really send the students to the breakout room, we need to understand that they answer the question, they know how to participate. It's because there's always a teacher to facilitate. But now they are working independently, a group of students, right? How do they know where to start? How do they know how to get started to practice? Then we have to pre-teach the language. I read first. Your turn. And sometimes one student know to unmute and practice, but other students are not responding, right? So teach the vocabulary of unmute. And sometimes they finish earlier, then they can practice again. So really prepare them before I send those 2 students into that 3rd breakout room. And on week 5, or it really depends. Sometimes the students get the concept really faster. Sometimes you have a group of students, they are just eager to participate. Versus other times you have lots of very shy students, right? So, but depends on your own timeline. When they are really comfortable, you are adding the 3rd room, fourth room, many students are ready to practice and participate in the breakout room. Then I start to identify a few model students and train them to be the student leaders. I call them the teachers of the breakout room. And now they're having another layer of the job is that they need to be the facilitator. I pre-teach them the language, like call the student's name, please mute, right? Or they start to practice like a dialogue. They need to identify who is A, who is B. So I teach them the language. I am A, you are B. Okay, or we always have this, we use the textbook we're using is Ventures Basic. And on the lesson A, there's always like a big picture full of different things that we use to practice speaking, listening, and vocabulary. And I teach them the language that I always use to facilitate. What do you see? And other students in the group practice, I see. So this is how I think by week 5 or even by week 6, that's kind of the breakout room that we're assuming day 1 the students will be able to do. But really that's the time that it takes. And if we think about our students, how many things are going on? They have their own lives, they have their job, they're learning a totally different language in a new culture, and also they're learning technology. So with so many things going on, it takes time to let them feel comfortable and confident to speak in front of a whole group of people. So I see some message in the chat. Are there any questions? Okay, so yeah, any questions about a week by week strategy? Okay, no. Okay, can we go to the next slide? Yeah, so along with the week by week strategy, how you group the students is also important. Like when we talk face to face, right? We know, oh, these students are from the same country. Oh, put them together so they could help each other, right? It's the same thing. So currently my class, I have 2 big groups, a big group of students from Haiti and a big group of students from Afghanistan. So I start at the beginning of the semester, I try to put the student who speak the same language in the same group. So they feel more comfortable if they have a question, or if students are not unmuting, they could help each other in their own language. And for each day's class, I have at least 2 or 3 opportunities for the students to go into the breakout room and practice. And I usually put the same students in the same group. So when they go back to the group, oh, they know they are working with the same group of students, right? And that's for the beginning of the semester. And I try to see, oh, these students, probably they know each other, right? Or they can be friends. So try to put the students together so that it's important for the student and me to make connections, but it's also important for the students to build connection, to create this classroom community. So I try to put the same students in the same group for the beginning of the semester, or for the first 1 or 2 activities of each lesson, so that they know each other, they feel more comfortable working with each other. But after a while, after a few weeks, the students already know each other. They are very familiar with the breakout room activities. They know that's their opportunity to practice. Then I start to mix the student from different countries, regroup the students so that they get more opportunities to work with different students. And another strategy I want to share is after week 5, you have several groups that they could practice together, but there's always some students, they're very shy, that if you are in the breakout room, maybe you call their name several times, they are able to unmute, but it's harder for other group leaders to do the same thing, right? So you could pull those students into a separate breakout room. Sometimes I will just facilitate that breakout room. And sometimes if you have a PA or IA, you can let your instructional assistant to facilitate that group. I see a question from Philip. When I put the students together that speak the same language, they don't speak same English. Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. At the beginning of the semester, put them together. They are communicating, which I think is a good thing because they are making connections. They either know each other or they don't know each other, but they know they speak the same language. I think one thing really helped the students to persist is they have a community feeling. The same as the in-person class, they start to become friends. They want to be together. They exchange their contact information. They help each other. So I think we're trying to create a similar community, even though we are online. So at first, yes, they're not speaking, they're speaking their own language. And sometimes I'm there, I ask, okay, so yeah, good. But do you want to practice? Then we could encourage them to practice. But over time, as we know that they are ready to practice, then kind of mix them and tell them, oh, you know, the students all speak different languages, or this is English time. It's more important we practice English. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Okay, so Ruth, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so the first link is a document that I created. It has some screenshots to show how to create a breakout room. Can you go to that link? Yeah, so the first few steps are pretty simple, but if you can scroll down to the second page. Thank you. And I want step 5. Scroll down a little bit more. Thank you. Yeah, here is a setting I want to mention. The first one is automatically move all assigned participants into breakout rooms. So I think most of teachers probably already know this setting, but this is extremely helpful because otherwise the students need to confirm. And sometimes students don't understand what is breakout room. They don't understand, they need to confirm that they join the breakout room. So that's one very important feature. Okay, yeah.
Get a copy of this document or the slides?
Yeah, it's linked to the slide. So if you can email me or Ruth, we're happy to share the slides.
Yeah, I'll put our email addresses in the chat. And one more thing I wanted to mention about this is something that I've changed in my Zoom breakout rooms is changing the countdown timer
Oh,
to
yeah.
10 seconds rather than it being a full minute. I think some students just start to see the timer and then like they stop talking. So it might as well just end within 10 seconds. I've seen it be more effective in my classes, and so just wanted to mention.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, definitely. And sometimes I accidentally open the Zoom breakout room and have to close it. And having I think the default setting was 60 minutes, right? 60 seconds. And that's just way too long for you to restart the breakout room. Yeah.
I'll go back to the slide here.
Yeah. And the second one resource I want to share is the breakout room reminders that I created that I share with the students before I send them to the breakout rooms. So Ruth, can you open the second one?
Yes, sorry, just finally sending that chat. Okay.
So I got inspired from our colleague Monica Quilla, and I kind of adapted to because I teach lower level to this is more like for beginning level breakout room, and I show them the visual unmute sign, but at the same time I have like a physical copy of the unmute sign that I always show the student, hey, now breakout room, your time. You have to unmute and practice. And at the beginning, when they don't know each other, it's very important they say each other's name so they know how to take turns to practice, right? And I encourage them, if it's possible, if they are in a safe environment that they can turn on the video, then it's better to turn on the video. And I also have the language here. I read first, you read first. let's read again. And there's also a, if they have questions, I gave them the visual where they can click a button to ask teacher for help. Yeah. Okay, and these are just some visuals to help them because sometimes the teacher, the student don't know that they could rotate the phone to get a bigger screen and how to zoom in, because a lot of time I'm sharing the content for them into the breakout room so they could read. And they need, if they're on a mobile device, they need to learn how to zoom in so they can see. Okay, and that's just the Zoom breakout room video there. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and with the breakout room activity, it's very important that you start with very, very simple activities. I've seen some teachers start from, oh, we just learned this new grammar. Let's go to a breakout room and take turns to practice. And the students are super shy. Well, they're super shy because they barely know what they just learned. And very few students could just, it takes time for them to observe. So really start from very, very simple activities, like just reading some simple vocabulary or a daily news activity I will be talking about later. That's a very simple daily routine that all the students know how to do in my class. And that's my highest participation in breakout room activities. And also, it's very important to demonstrate how to do the activity before sending student into breakout room, demonstrate how they participate, but at the same time, as a teacher, also demonstrate for the teacher, the lead students, how to facilitate, how to ask other students questions. And also, even though my students all have the textbook, but I always share the content into the breakout room. Not all the students know how to manage with one cell phone, talking to the students and then read their textbook. It's just too challenging for them. So I always share the content into breakout rooms for them to see. So then I remembered earlier there was a question in the chat that, okay, now the students are in the breakout room, I'm in the main room, and I'm stuck here because I'm sharing the content. I cannot join the breakout rooms. So that comes with the second device. So when I'm sharing the content, I see my students are in the breakout rooms, I will just mute myself. And then I will use my cell phone to join into the Zoom session as a participant. I named my cell phone as a GS phone so I don't get confused with which is my computer hosting the Zoom session, which is my mobile device. And then I move my phone from room to room to see what the students are doing or facilitate one of the breakout rooms. Okay. And the last one is just one very important tip at the beginning of the semester, actually throughout the semester. It's very important to help students get access to technology. At lower levels, it's okay, maybe just with the mobile devices, but when they go to higher levels, it's very important. The laptop will give them a lot more access to the functions that they will use in class, like sharing in the breakout rooms. So we're very fortunate in San Diego. We have many other programs, but this Digital Navigator program offers a free digital literacy class and also one-on-one mentoring and multiple locations. And it also offers Wi-Fi and computer at a very low cost. So I'm not sure about at other counties and cities, but there is always a resource there. So it's very important to share that information with the students because that will really help them to be more engaged and participate in the class.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
So, when you talk about entering on a second device on your phone, is it possible that as a participant, you can just pop around breakout rooms? You can, because I've never done that, I've always been the teacher.
Oh, no, you are moving yourself. with your computer.
Oh, I see, you move your own.
You're the host, right? Yeah, you just have to, yeah.
I get it, I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
So the trick is not to confuse yourself as host and then your other self as co-host.
I
It's really
understand.
funny because it feels like you've cloned yourself, and it can be confusing at the beginning. But once you do it, you'll get into the habit and it'll become second nature.
Yeah, at first, several times I was like join the breakout room, and then my student lose my shared content. So that's why I changed my cell phone into Gia's phone. So I always remember, oh, move my phone.
Were there any other questions about the second device? And also, like, if anyone else has ever tried that before, you can say so in the chat or let us.
I'd like to know if anyone's tried doing that using two different browsers, or I use Microsoft Edge, which you can split the screen really easily. So I think it would be possible to do it from the computer on two different instances.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Something to look into.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, Laura, but
Okay,
I guess.
Just see
well,
me.
we'll all try.
Yeah, we'll report back.
But I do want to
I have done it on on a laptop and a PC where I haven't gone into a breakout, but I've done it where I can see who's in class on one and I can see what my lesson is on the other.
Oh, wow. That's great, Karen.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because I lose track of whether people are still there. So if the class is more than 10, I put two devices.
So
Or if you got a dual monitor, actually you can have, but you still need to monitor two screen, but you can
You
have just
shouldn't-
one device. Yeah.
And you definitely have to turn the audio off on one of the devices.
Right.
Yes.
I was
guess if I went to a breakout, then I'd have to turn the audio back on.
Mhm.
But talk.
So what you have to do is I don't know if I have space on here to like make a note. I'll try and fit something in here, but the first step is you lower volume on primary device. This is what I do anyway. And then when I sign in on Zoom on second device, let me put this down there. I make sure and join with audio. And also you want to really make sure that you stay the co-host and that you don't take over as host. The options all pop up at once and it can be really jarring. So just like slow down, just do one thing at a time. Like, okay, join with audio, check. Stay a co-host, check. And then you can go from there on your primary device and start moving your second self among the breakout rooms.
Yeah. So if you can see, I'm currently using my PC and my computer, and I'm using my headphones. And so when I'm sending the student to breakout room, I would only need to mute myself. And then I go to my cell phone and I use the speaker and there's no echo issues. The only thing I need to remember is to leave meeting before I come back to the main session. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe that's step number 3. Or I guess monitor breakout rooms is step number 3, and then leave. Did you say leave the main session?
Yeah, leave meeting, leave the meeting.
Leave
So
the meeting.
yeah.
When you're on your second device.
Mhm.
Through second device. Are these notes helpful? I don't know.
Sure.
I just like making notes for myself, but
Yes, thank you.
I'd like
Okay.
to mention another approach. But I know a lot of classes would not be able to do this, but luckily, my classes, usually all the students have access to two different devices, even if it's a cell phone and a tablet. And so I use the Remind app and I just send screenshots of the lessons on Remind. And then they're on Zoom on their other, hopefully a laptop. We have laptop loaner program. And so
Nice.
I don't have to do that.
Oh, that's so great that you have that program.
It is.
Yeah, not all schools have that.
Right.
It makes all the difference.
Yeah, that makes things so much easier to have two devices.
Yes.
I have a
Um,
question.
oh, sure. Go ahead.
Like when we do the EL Civics, we take the students into the breakout room and they test one at a time, but they get confused on how to leave the breakout room and go back to the main session.
Yeah. We're piloting doing some like tech training for students in the first few weeks of online classes.
As the host, you are able to move the student back to the main session. That's what I've been doing. Like
Can you
I
show
do
me how to
have
do that, please?
how to show, when you create a breakout room, let me see if I have a visual.
Yeah.
Can you go, Ruth, can you go back to the breakout room,
Mm-hmm.
the instruction, that Word document? You have it on the tab, the last one.
Oh, yeah. The
The
breakout.
on the
one?
yes, the one to the left, the Google Docs. Yes. Can you scroll up? Yeah, so over here, when the students are in the breakout room, you see you got the option to move the student. And now with the newest version of Zoom, if you click move to, you will see one option says the main session. So after the student is done with the assessment, you can move the student back to the main session. So that's how they leave the breakout room. You don't have to teach them. Yeah.
I think I need to update my Zoom.
Yeah.
I think the update we're looking for, or at least as far as I know, is like 5.17 something.
Do you have to put that in settings that you can move them to the main session, or you can just do it?
I believe it's an automatic setting with the new update. Is that right, Jia?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see well, yeah, if we have any other questions, feel free while I find our last slide. I was going to mention something else about getting access to laptops. I wasn't even aware of this not too long ago, but a lot of public libraries offer free Chromebooks, free Wi-Fi, and other technology for low-income students. Oh, also CalWorks. Many of our students are part of CalWorks. Are you guys familiar with that at all? Have you heard about? Yeah. So I like to double check or just like check in with my students and make sure that they know that the funds that they receive through CalWorks are supposed to go towards any like student needs, including technology. So I believe it's something like they get $500 per semester. So then they can put that towards a, low cost laptop. Just simple reminders, things that they already have access to, but they maybe just didn't know that they had the access. I see a question in the Q&A. Jia, do you see that as well?
Oh, I think that's a comment about the changing the breakout room setting from 90 seconds to 10 seconds, because if you don't know how to move the student back to the main session, you could just quickly close that breakout room and create a new one, and it won't take too long.
Not in the chat box. I'm seeing a notification in the Q&A button. There's Marisol
yes.
says, can you? Oh yeah, you go ahead.
Can you tell me how to get the classic whiteboard? The new Zoom update took away my board and I don't like to use the new whiteboard.
That's an interesting question, and I'm not sure if I know about that.
So Marisa, what do you mean it take away the classic whiteboard? I think you still have access to your traditional share screen whiteboard.
No, I don't.
they updated it.
Yeah,
very-
they updated it and forced it on us. To be blunt.
Okay.
I used to be able to share screen and then have a choice of the classic whiteboard. Now I click on share screen and that's the new one.
I'm
And I
familiar.
hate it. It's terrible.
Oh.
It's terrible.
Oh, you know what, Marisol, I'm seeing a little window in the top right. It just said use classic whiteboard, but it disappeared, that little option.
Yeah, I've been looking for that option.
It was there for like 10 seconds,
Seconds.
and it disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see it pop up on her.
I still have the old whiteboard. I wonder if I need to update my Zoom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
This
that's
is the old whiteboard, right? Or should I not update my Zoom?
oh yeah, right. Because I updated
I'm-
my
I'm gonna check-
Zoom.
See, it says use whiteboard classic. Yeah,
Ah, see,
there
I
is
don't
a-
have that.
So
I
if
don't
you
have that option.
Click quick enough.
if
Yeah.
you're fast, you can do it.
If I'm fast.
Or go to your Zoom setting. Check your Zoom setting
I
for
did.
whiteboard. Oh,
That's
no.
why I'm asking here. Yeah, I've been checking,
No,
but
you're ahead of us.
I think it's just an update, and I have to go searching for it, and no fair because I can't find it.
Marisol, if you put your contact info in the chat, I can keep up with you and I mean in the future and see if there's maybe down the
Oh.
line there might be a setting for that.
That would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Everything changes so rapidly on Zoom that it can be just a lot to keep up with. So
Right now I'm seeing something that says new whiteboard or existing whiteboard. So you can go back to one you already made, but that doesn't mean you can go back to the classic.
Yeah, it's probably the only nice thing about the new whiteboard is that it saves all your whiteboards. And you can go back to them and find them. Whereas the classic whiteboards, they kind of disappear after you get out of that session. Once you get out of that session, they disappear. But maybe it's me and I'm not that techie savvy, so I will just keep trying. Thank you.
Yeah. Someone had their hand up for a second and then they put it down. Okay, maybe they don't have a question anymore. Well, yeah, I'm glad we got into that. Oh yeah, no worries, Julie. Okay. So next up in our session, Jia is going to share about a sample activity that she created herself. Jia, your video disappeared, but are you still there?
I am. Can you see me now?
Okay. Oh, there you are.
Oh, okay, great, yeah. Okay, thank you. So everyone, this is the daily news activity that I've been using for many years, and I use the same activity for my fully face-to-face class also. So pretty much as a teacher and as non-credit open entry, open exit class, we often have new students coming in the middle of the semester, right? And the teacher, we need a little bit time to check, are they on our roster, right? And we need to give the information, okay, this is what they need to know. This is the textbook. You need that little extra time to help the new student. And I also take attendance for my online class. So I need a little bit time to check, okay, who is here today? But at the same time, I don't want the whole class to be waiting for me. And at some of the workshops that we had, some teachers said, oh, she has been playing some music at the first 5 or 10 minutes of the class. And gradually, students start to realize, okay, the first 10 minutes, there's nothing happening. Okay, I can come a little bit later. So that become an issue. So this activity can be very handy because the students are using that time to practice writing. And this is a daily writing and reading practice that really gave them the opportunity to practice writing and reading on daily basis. So can you click one more time, Ruth? Yeah, so pretty much every day, come to the class, I will, beginning of the semester, I will use my document camera and I will write on a piece of paper and to really demonstrate for the student that how I'm copying, I'm writing the news in my notebook to teach them the vocabulary right, to teach them this is a routine that students do every day. Now, later on, as you can see, I could show them the presentation slides and they understand that they are supposed to copy and write the news in their notebook. So pretty much for the first 5 or 10 minutes of the class, when I'm helping the new students, I'm taking the attendance, students copy the news. And then I will explain the vocabulary, students repeat after me, and then we all read the news together. And I send the students to breakout rooms and the student take turns to read the news. And then when we come back, I usually just invite 2 or 3 volunteer students to read. But if we look at the content of the news, at the beginning of semester, it starts from very, very simple, just the date, the weather. And it's very, the class I'm currently teaching is beginning literacy. It's very challenging for some of the students to spell the vocabulary. And since they're learning online, I feel like it's less practice for them to do writing and reading. So this activity is very important. It's a good practice for them to really force them to write with a pencil, not just do a screenshot, take a picture of the information, right? Ruth, can you click the daily news? No, click the daily news link. That's gonna take everyone to this slide. Okay. So as you can see, at the beginning, I may just show a, write a daily news on a piece of paper with a document camera and go to the next slide. And I gradually move to the presentation slide, gave them the gift to show that they are supposed to write in their notebook, not just take a picture. And I start from very, very simple information from introducing their teacher, me. Then can you go to the next slide? Then start to tell them how to spell name, give them a chance to spell their names. Go to the next slide. And then you can see by the date, this is within 1 semester, that's probably happening in the first week. I start to teach them. When there's a new student, we welcome the new student, kind of introduce the new student. And next slide, thank you. And then I start to introduce, hey, this is our schedule, right? What days do we have Zoom? What days we don't have Zoom? Class schedule. So the content is usually important information for the students. Some grammar review, some vocabulary review. When there's important holiday, there's no class, is there? Or when there's a very important test, or there's a unit test, the CASAS testing, I tell them that information. Can you go to the next slide?
Sorry, was chatting with someone here.
Yeah, no problem. And you can see it gets longer, and I change the color of the word and tell the student, hey, this is Jia's information. You can use your own information. Can you go to the next one? And as you can see, that's 1 month later, that's in March, and it gets longer. The text becomes longer, and that's a practice of the writing that we are doing that day. It's to write about the family. Yeah, and if you click, you can see a picture that I took when I did it. I think this is high flex or in-person class. Yeah. yeah, it can be used for HyFlex and online and in person too. So that's a very great activity. And this, for my own class, this is always my highest participation. I've had student, when I was in the breakout room, smaller breakout room, I had one student read the news, and I could barely understand what the student was saying because it was very broken English. And the student, I think her native language was either Arabic or Farsi, so she reads from right to left. And when she was reading, it was like there and here, it's not even a complete sentence. But she was able to unmute and read in front of a few other students. That shows how much she wants to participate and how much she understands that this is something that every student participates in the class. Even though she knows that her English wasn't good enough, she participated. So yeah. And I've shared this with other teachers and also got really great feedback that she said that this activity is her highest participation in the class. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Ruth.
Okay, so we've got our first sample activity, thanks to Jia. And then I am going to demonstrate for you something that you can use in your fully online classes. I teach fully online. So this is a website that I use very frequently, and you can use it in all kinds of classes. You can use it for grammar, conversation, pronunciation. Really, it's pretty applicable to a lot of topics. And there's also a grammar specific version of this website. But I'll just show you on the leisure topic, because on this left side, you can choose which topic you want. Like, let's say you're learning about Christmas. They have fun speaking activities. But today I decided to focus on leisure activities. So we will go through here, starting from the top. And most of these are free downloads. A few of them, you have to be a member, but mostly you can get away without being a member. So we're gonna go with this one called Vocabulary Building. And oh, thanks for putting that in the chat, Jia. So yeah, just that green button that says free download. And then we open it up and it can be easily shared. If you just click the share button, you can put it in the chat or you can put it on your Canvas for students to find later. But in the Zoom session itself, the importance here is for students to get used to using their notebook, which I'll talk about in a second. So let me just go back to my slide, and then I'll go back and forth to the activity. So the first step when we have that leisure activity open is the teacher, I or you, would model the activity and perform as the group leader. So students know what this activity is all about. And then so just going along with that first step, I want to make sure my students know what leisure means. Hopefully it's something that we would have been talking about in our previous classes, but just in case you have a student that doesn't know what it means, you can come up with a synonym like leisure is something you do for fun in your free time, or hobby activities, or just hobbies. So getting the students in the realm of what we're going with. And then from there, I might give just general examples, like, what do you like to do in your free time? I'll go first. I like swimming. Jia, what do you like to do in your free time? and then
Oh,
I'll
oh.
ask Jia. Oh, sorry, what was that?
Are you asking me?
I am asking you, or anyone who wants to give me an example of a fun free time activity.
I like
Walking.
skiing.
You like singing. Is that what you said?
Oh, sorry, skiing.
Oh, skiing. Oh, that's even more thrilling.
I like singing too.
Nice. So, I'll go through those examples just to make sure everyone understands. Okay, these are leisure activities. And then going back to my slide here, step 2, just like I said, teacher calls on students to give examples. And then the teacher demonstrates how to take notes in their notebook. So at this point in the activity, and by the way, this is in the main Zoom session. This is during the class. It's the teacher is leading. So the students are just getting used to what this activity is, if this is your first time doing it. So I say, okay, students, take out your notebooks now. Show me your notebook and your pencil or your pen. And this encourages turning on the video, because if we don't do things like this, like gently nudging, then they may start to participate a little bit less. So I try and incorporate the notebook as much as possible, because they really like to say, hey, teacher, look, this is what I have. And they'll put it like way up to the camera so you can see. It's really cute. And so it's great feedback, because when everyone has their camera off, the teacher is not getting feedback, and then it becomes teacher centered, and that's not what we want for our online classes. So from here, I will say, we'll do a few in alphabetical order, like let's think of an activity that begins with A. What does anyone have an example? Something to do for fun.
Art.
Art. Okay, great. So we'll put in art as our first example. Okay, everybody, write capital A on your paper and write art. And you can do it with them. You can show them on your paper you have art. And then everybody hopefully will, or most, or some at least, will turn on their camera and show you their paper. And then we'll go through alphabetically. Okay, let's come up with one more example.
Baseball.
Baseball. Okay, thank you, Philip. So then everybody writes baseball on their paper. And once again, you say capital B. And if you want to practice spelling, you can all spell it out loud, just making sure that they are writing it down so that they get that writing practice as well. So this is in the main session. This is part 1 of the activity. Once you get enough examples and you pre-teach the language, Jia, can you think of one word or one example? Or Philip, thank you for your example. You're teaching the language of what it looks like to be the lead of this activity, because our goal here is to have the students lead this in the breakout rooms so that you're not leading it in the breakout room. So then from here, we'll go and prepare the students for doing this in the breakout room. Let me just clear my screen here. So how I would do this is I would assign higher level students as the group leaders, pick out maybe 3 or 4 of your high performing students that you trust or you believe can do this, because you're asking them to lead the group. And then once you create your breakout rooms, you're going to have those students you know, dividing them up between however many rooms. Sometimes 4 is a nice number because it's, especially if it's just you, the teacher, without an assistant, 4 is manageable to go in and out of the breakout rooms, but you can make that decision. And then just make sure to check off the option, share screen to breakout rooms. And then this goes back to joining with a second device. So your primary device is sharing the screen, the activity here. So everyone sees, let me just make that a little smaller. Everyone can see this clearly. They can see the first 2 examples. And then once they get into their breakout room, they are continuing to have their notebook in their hand and their pencil to write. So they're taking everything that was done in the breakout room and they're just replicating it, but this time without you. That's the main difference. And then what you want to remember to do is just join with your second device so you can go in and check on each room and make sure everybody's doing okay and that they're on task. And as you can see in the picture, my name on my iPhone is Ruth's iPhone, so that I know, okay, that's my second device. I need to move myself into these breakout rooms so as not to get confused.
Yeah. Yeah, can I add one more thing, Ruth? Yeah,
Yes.
so instead, it's a very common mistake that I did several times, is to click the blue join button, and that means you're moving your main device into that session, and then the students lose the shared content. So it's important to remember to assign your cell phone into the breakout room. Do not click join. Yeah.
Yes. Rookie mistake that we've all made. But so that's the sample activity. Does that sound like something you would want to try out, or does anyone have questions?
How do you share the screen to the breakout rooms? Is that one drop-down menu or?
Yes, let me take you through that step by step. You're going to click the green new share button, and then in that, once you've already created your breakout rooms, you're gonna see 3 options at the very low panel of the white sharing screen window. So at the bottom of that, there's the 3rd option is something you can check off. Share to all breakout rooms. And then you click that, and then it will say share to all breakout rooms, and you say yes.
I have a visual. Do you want me to share?
Even better.
Yeah.
Visual or
Thank you.
much better.
Yeah. So can I share the screen? My computer is
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit slow. Okay. Yeah, so here when you click the green share button, then it's gonna ask you which window you wanna share. Now, this option is only available when you have already created the breakout room. So it's not available when you are, sorry, my computer is a little bit slow. Okay, so it's not available when you're sharing in the main session. So what you need to do is you create a breakout room first and send the students to the breakout room. Then you share the content again, and you will see the 3rd option that says share to breakout rooms. Make sure you check share to breakout rooms and share, and all the students in the breakout room will be able to see that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you do that, when they're in the breakout rooms, are they able to see each other? If
Yes.
say they're on
They
the phone, if
see
they're
each
on the
other,
phone.
yes.
Yeah, whatever kind of a device they're on. However, I don't know what Gia was about to say. You can go ahead first, and then I'll comment.
Oh yeah, so on the computer, it's pretty much the same thing as when Ruth is sharing. You see smaller window of the video and a bigger window of the shared content. But what I've noticed is when I join the breakout room with my mobile device, they will see on one page that's only the content and whoever is speaking. But if they swipe to the right, they will see all the participants, but that means they don't see the shared content. So they have 2 pages, yeah.
So you might have to kind of explain that to them, right?
Right, but yeah.
You might have to explain that to them if the majority of your students have a smartphone. But going back to one of my tips, this is just for me personally. I prefer my students, just like I'm sure many of you do too, to be logging in on Zoom on a computer. It's easier for them. It's easier for me. It's a win-win. So that's why I'm like hounding them, get your computer. You have it. You just have to get it. Like their access exists. It's just a matter of finding it. And then being that support for them, like, hey, how can I help you get a computer? How can I help you get a free computer? You know, I make that a priority just because I know that it's going to create less of a burden. However, there are some times when, like one of my students, Hamed, he is at work when he zooms in and he has to zoom in on his phone. So it's just, you never know. Certain circumstances, but so going back to our slides, let's see. I think we have plenty of time for a discussion. Let me put the slideshow on. So now that we've shared our activities with you guys, it's time if you want to share your experiences, your ideas, and any other questions you might have. So
If I put my email address in the chat, can you send me the copy of this presentation? Because you're recording it.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much.
No problem. So our first discussion question is share your most successful breakout room activity. If you have one, we'd love to hear from you and what you do in your classes.
Or if you don't have an activity, maybe like what is the challenge? What is the biggest challenge, or what do you feel like it's the most difficult thing for you to manage the breakout room?
I've never done it in my classroom.
And so what class are you teaching, Karen?
Well, I have different levels. I mean, I teach more than one class, but one of the teachers at my school uses it quite frequently in professional development once a month. Half the time that doesn't go very well. The things don't arrive where they belong, and she's quite an expert. So it doesn't, it's like, oh, I don't want to try that. There's a but so it helped me just to hear you say that it was don't expect it to work the first 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
I think I may have tried it 5 years ago and it was just too, so I know more now. I think after this class, I would try it again.
Good.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, that's what I've heard a lot from teachers is that the first experience wasn't good. Then feels like, oh, the teaching time is so valuable. There's so many things that we need to cover. Then it feels like a waste of time. But I'm seeing breakout room more like thinking about when we were teaching face-to-face. It's like the group discussion time. If we don't have the breakout room, then it's very easy to become very teacher-centered. It's all lecture presentation. And thinking about how many students, I don't know how many students you have in the Zoom session, but when we have 30, 35 students, and when you call on a student's name and the main session is recorded, you ask one student to answer this question, how many of the students feel comfortable, confident to answer questions? Versus when you go into the breakout room, there's only 3 or 4, everyone else already practiced how the students feel that they need to practice in the breakout room. So I feel like that's really a very important part of the class, because that really gave the students an opportunity to interact with each other, and they're learning the skills of collaborating, working with other students, learning how to take turns to read a dialogue, versus all relying on the teacher to say, hey, you're A, you're B, oh, you repeat one more time, you switch roles. They need to learn all those skills, because once they go to higher levels, they do group projects, lots of things that really they need to work independently or with each other. Yeah.
Could I chime in a little bit?
Yes.
Hi, so I do teach, I've been teaching literacy level for a while. I do teach in person and online. Initially, I didn't want to use breakout rooms because my students are literacy students. I'm like, what are they going to say in the breakout rooms? However, my students love the breakout room. Whenever I survey them, they say their favorite part is the breakout room. So what I do is I do simple conversation, like what you just shared, and I put it in the chat before I send them to the breakout room. And then they go and then they do it. But this was the tip that I received. You send them for a very, very short time, like 3 minutes maybe, not too long. And then I rotate the groups. So I do like 2 or 3 rounds of the same activity, same conversation topics. I even do like, do you like to, or can you? So I alternate the questions, and my students really love it. And I think the Zoom has now an option where you can send everyone automatically in your setting.
Yes.
So students don't even have to try to look for the join, because you can just automatically send them whether they want to go or not. And I just love it. They most, about 60 or 70% of my students say that the discussion and the conversation is one of their favorite parts, because they don't get to practice it at home. So they really find it very helpful. So
Exactly.
I really appreciate all the definitely the using the extra device. I haven't done that yet, but my problem was because I was always sharing my screen, I couldn't go join the breakout rooms. But now using the extra device, you gave me this great idea. So I'm going to try joining different breakout rooms. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I saw a question asking how to automatically send students to the breakout room. So that's really the key, how to make this work. Ruth, can I share the screen? I have a visual to show. Yeah. So when you're creating the breakout rooms, the first window you will see is to like create how many breakout rooms. And once you are in the page of you see the students in the breakout room, there is one says option. I believe on some devices it looks like this, but it's at the bottom. It's always at the bottom left. If you click the setting options, and make sure you don't check the first 2 options and only check option number 3, automatically move all assigned participants into breakout rooms. In that case, as long as they have the updated version of the Zoom, they will be pushed into the breakout room. They don't need to click any buttons like join or anything. They got put automatically sent to the breakout room. Now, if you notice 1 or 2 students are not pushed into the breakout room, they're still in the main session. That means they haven't updated their Zoom for a very, very long time. So they need to either delete the app, download the app again, or just check for updates. Yeah. And I see
One
some
more
other.
comment. Hi. I had one more comment about.
Oh yeah, in the room. Yes, please.
Yes.
Just that the idea of setting them for a short time with a clear task of conversation. And then what I find helpful too is, maybe a little higher than literacy, but like a beginning high, is having them then report back on what their partners said, because then they really had to kind of pay attention, right? So that, you know, keeping it with a simple sort of conversation, but then also coming back and they have to tell what the other person shared. So they've actually got something, you know, to show that they did the task.
Yeah, it's almost like a form of assessment or like comprehension. Great point. Karen is asking, can we show her how to check for updates?
I'm sorry, I'm reading the notes. Check for updates. I don't think I can share this window because yeah, that's my Zoom window. So I cannot share. But if you have the Zoom app on your desktop and on the top right where you see your avatar, you see your account profile, the checking for updates is there. It's where you can sign out. And one of the options is check for updates. Yeah, and if the student is using a cell phone, it's easier. They just go to the app store and either download the new app, just remove the old app, download the new app, or just check for updates. It's in the app store. Yeah.
I don't see, and when I sign into my desktop Zoom, I see the avatar and the only two choices are sign out and
Okay.
there's no update there when I'm looking for it.
Okay, let me do a screenshot so I can share. I did a screenshot here. So this is the Zoom app. And when you click, you should see it's here. Check for updates.
Yeah, so I don't get any of that stuff dropping down.
Yeah, then another way to go is you can search from the internet and download the Zoom app again.
Oh, just you do it
Yeah.
fresh?
Yes, download again. And if you don't have the newest version, I think it's gonna let you to, yeah, download the newest version. Yeah.
Because I thought most of the time you can't even enter a Zoom room without updating first. So those are the only updates I've seen, the ones that where they say you're gonna update now before we let you in.
No, yeah, unfortunately, you have to go in and check pretty frequently yourself and not rely on Zoom.
So the best way, if I don't see that as an option, because when I go to the Zoom, where I sign into Zoom and I search for updates, it doesn't tell me, it doesn't give them to me.
All right, so you are signed in on your Zoom desktop application?
Yes, and then when I sign in and when I click on the avatar, it doesn't give me that lovely drop down that we just saw.
Then I'm wondering if you have a very outdated Zoom application. Like Jia said, maybe just try downloading it all over again. And then that way it's going to give you the most updated one. Like delete your Zoom application once you're off this session. Delete it from your computer and then like download it all over again.
Do you think it's because it's a district, a district account?
No, I don't think that affects it, right, Gia?
I actually think it affects. We have.
Oh,
well,
okay. Never mind.
Yeah, if you are California public school teachers, we should have the more advanced version of Zoom that gives us more features. But the Zoom has been updates like quite frequently. So I've seen different version of updates before they were sending those notifications that, telling us we need to update. But recently, I think we need to check ourselves for updates. Like I haven't updated for a while and I don't have that new whiteboard in place.
So
So
if I, you said to, I forgot the word. You said to get rid of the one I have and then look for a new
you
one.
don't need to get rid of the one you have. You just need to go to Google Chrome and
Okay.
search Zoom. If you use Mac, just search Zoom Mac. If you use PC, just search Zoom PC, and it's gonna ask you to download. And you are just gonna, I think the newest version will replace your old version. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't want to get suddenly not able to get into my district account because I got a new one. But just go get a new one and they'll figure it out between the two of them. Okay, thank you. That's the second time today I heard that you have to do your own updates. You can't count on them. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, and I see the 5 minutes warning and many teachers requested for the slides. So Ruth, I'm fine with sharing the slides here. But if you
Yeah, you can go ahead.
okay, I'm copying the
thanks.
link. So viewer, okay. Yeah, so everyone, if you like to have a copy of the slides, is in the chat. But you are also welcome to email me or Ruth for any additional questions.
Yeah,
And I was, no, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say in slide 12, it lists our emails, both Gia's and mine.
Yeah. And I saw in the comments that scaffolded activities works very well. Yes, it's a lot of time when the activity isn't working in the breakout room is that we need to scaffold a little bit more. We can't always assume that the students understand the task, the technology, the language, and also other students' accent. I've heard sometimes the students say, oh, I don't want to work with other students. I only want to work with teacher because other students have an accent. So really educating the students that it's important they work with each other, because that's the real situation that they need to use English, right? They can't just use English only with the teachers. Yeah.
Right. Do we need to share our last slide with the evaluation? What are those called? QR codes?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Can you share? And I'm copying a few emails for slides.
Thanks. Yeah, here's our last slide. Please fill out those evaluations. You can scan them with your phone camera and it'll take you right there. Thank you, everyone.